as a reporter, you have to get information. And so I found that a lot of the best information that I got, especially on government, was from secretaries. Because the secretaries in any organization know everything that's going on. They know who's coming in, who's going out, who's working hard, what they're doing. They know who's sleeping with who. They know who's got an alcohol problem. They know everything that's going on in the office. And a lot of times they hate their bosses because a lot of times their bosses don't treat them very well and they don't pay them very well. And so they are really the most likely people to tell you information to give you leads on stories. So I found that as a reporter that I would routinely go around to all the government buildings and flirt with the secretaries, because they didn't usually have television news reporters coming around flirting with them. But so I did, and so we developed some really good relationships, and they would give me a lot of good information about things. And so in about 1987, Time magazine came out with the top 10 sexiest men in America. I think Tom Cruise and Tom Selleck, I don't know who was on that list. And so at the time, the Deseret News Bureau in Utah County thought it would be funny to do a story on the top 10 sexiest men in Utah County, kind of a parody, kind of a comedy thing. And so this is unbeknownst to me. So they set up a way to do this, and they decided the way that they were going to determine the top 10 sexiest men was to go and quiz and poll all of the secretaries at the state and county and city office buildings. That was their sample. So they didn't realize that I had been working that crowd, and so they went and asked them who they thought the sexiest man in Utah County was. So I think probably because I was the only name that they could remember. Anyway, I came out as number one. I was voted the sexiest man in Utah County. And so they published it in the Deseret News. You know, it's kind of a parody joke thing. I think Robert Redford, the actor, was number 7. Just saying. Cosmo was number 10, so you can see how serious it was. But I was number 1. And so our anchor at the time was Shelley Thomas, and so she got this copy of the Deseret News and saw it there. And so on the 10 o'clock news, they did a little spoof at the end of the news, and they talked about the story, and then they got pictures of my stand-ups, and they put soap opera music behind it, and she said something, if you got it, flaunt it. And so anybody who knows me, you got to realize that that is really not my personality, and so I was incredibly embarrassed by this. And so, but I was known as the sexiest man in Utah County, and so I had previously, my nickname was the Dog Napper of Central Utah, and I got a new nickname at KSL, which was the Sexiest Man in Utah County. And so that's what I was known as, the Sexiest Man, or Sexiest Man in Utah County. And so that name kind of stuck for many years until I was called to be a bishop about 3 years later. And then my nickname was the Sexiest Bishop in Utah County, which was more humorous. But that's what people called me at the television station, the Sexiest Bishop. So, I wasn't really proud of that. I guess it's worse. You can have worse things. But the reality is they've only had that one contest, and I won it. And so I'm still the reigning sexiest man in Utah County because they've never had another contest. And so, that's who I am. I guess I am the sexiest man in Utah County. So I was the Sexiest Bishop in Utah County. That was my nickname. And then after that, I went over to ABC4, and my nickname over there was Bishop Walls because I was serving as a bishop again. And so that's what everybody called me. Even at the other stations, that's what they called me, as Bishop Walls. Some still do today, which I don't mind that nickname. That's a great nickname. Then the other nickname that I received in television is Bubbles, because Bob Walls, if you say it fast, sounds like Bubbles. That's why I go by Robert. And so a lot of the producers called me Bubbles. So I've got 2 nicknames right now, Bubbles and Bishop Walls, which replaced the Sexiest Bishop in Utah County, the Sexiest Man in Utah County, and the Dog Napper of Central Utah. So when it comes to nicknames, I've got more than my share.